Bonjour tout le monde, aujourd'hui on va faire une vidéo sur ce traducteur.
Hello everyone, today we are going to make a video on this translator.
Hi guys, I'm Totally Dubbed and today we're going to be doing a video on the Pocketalk. This is a two-way translator that can be found for around £250 in the UK and around $300 in the US. If you're interested in purchasing it, the locally link in the description below will take you to your localized Amazon store. Now before jumping into this video, if you do have Instagram, I'd very much appreciate a follow. It's at TotallyDubbed, it'll be on your screen and indeed in the description. So let's see how this Pocketalk actually works and furthermore, how does it actually perform? So first off, I want to give you a quick indication of what you get in the box and also dive into some of the features. So in the box you'll get a set of manuals and you've got a USB type A to type C cable. You can see I haven't used it because I have my own ones. Now onto the device itself. It does connect via USB type C and this is to charge it. It's found at the bottom port over here. In terms of battery life, it will last you around 7 hours on a single usage. If you're constantly using it, that is. Pocketalk claimed that it will last for up to 10 days if you're not using it and therefore the screen is off. Now in my test, what I found is that the Pocketalk does last a long time. It does depend in terms of the overall brightness that you use it at and in terms of the way it's connected. But I will say that you're going to get a decent amount of usage. I would say expect at least 4 to 5 hours of solid usage, which is pretty much more than most people are ever going to need. And the fact that you can put it on standby or indeed switch it off if you want, because it's quite easy to switch on and switch off, means that it's quite nice. Also is the fact that you don't need an app or anything like that to be installed. You can just take this on the go without having any sort of interaction with any sort of device. Now, speaking of how it's connected, this has got 2 modes of connectivity. Well, actually 3 to be quite precise. It's got Wi-Fi, it's also got Bluetooth, and it's also got LTE. Now, the LTE data is included for 2 years for free in 130 countries, which is insane. So therefore, you can use this anywhere out and about in the supported countries. And if it's not supported or indeed your plan runs out, so after 2 years, you can always tether to your smartphone or buy a SIM card, so you can pop it over here, or go and spend $50 a year with Pocketalk for unlimited data usage with the Pocketalk SIM card, which is already installed. Now moving on from there, I would like to quickly mention that there is a volume up and down over here and a power on and off button over here and also a wake. There's no lock screen or anything like that. It's very simplistic to use and very easy. Now in terms of the size of the device itself, they'll be on your screen right here. What I will say is this 2.8-inch display is very clear and very easy to see, even in bright sunlight conditions. And furthermore, the weight of the device is only 74 grams, which means it's very light to pop in a pocket and actually kind of forget about. So that's great to see. Now, there is a button over here at the front, which is used for translation. Now, the translation over here, so for example, I've got English to French. So if I go, "Hi there, how are you doing?"
Salut, comment vas-tu?
So there you go, you've got that translator and that's how it works. It's very easy and very intuitive to use. What I like about this is that it shows you the output. I'm not sure if my camera's picking it up, but the output over here is shown and you can see how it's written. So that's great in terms of not only seeing your translation, hearing your translation, but also seeing your translation as well and how it's written, which I'll touch upon in just a bit. Now in terms of its features, other than its core functionalities, which is here, if you scroll from the top, you'll be able to see ones that you've recently translated. And if you go back here, you go to the menu system over here, you can see that you've got a variety of different settings. Also an indication of the percentage battery life. So you can see I'm on 84% with the Wi-Fi at its full signal, whilst the LTE is over here. Is almost like I'm in a nuclear bunker, which is pretty much true. Now the settings over here, you've got a whole host of different settings to choose from. You can also do a software update. Again, I would recommend using that on Wi-Fi as it'll be really quick, but it's really easy to do a software update. You can see there's a whole host of different functionalities over here, from lock screen settings to notification settings, and also the brightness level, which is something that you might want to adjust. You can see I'm not even on 100% brightness and yet it is still very much blinding. Now over here you've got the camera function. Now the camera function is something I just quickly want to touch upon because it's quite nice. Now you can see over here I've got Pocketalk's website, and it talks about how long does the battery last. Now the thing is with this, it's quite simple. You press over here to focus and you take a picture with this button. Then you choose the area that you want to be translated. So here we go, I'm going to just adjust this and then press OK, and then it's going to translate it. So over here I've got it from English to French because this is English text and it's French text over here. Now I'm not sure my camera will pick it up, but all I will say is with the translation over here, it's pretty much on point. It's not quite perfect, but it's pretty much on point. And I must say, here I'm really impressed. And again, I'm going to touch upon this in terms of the performance of the Pocketalk, but it's just something I just thought to show you in kind of live way and in a way on video, so that you guys can actually see it in operation. Now going back from that, what you can also do is browse your previous pictures you've taken, and I forgot to mention over here at the bottom you've got the actual languages, so you can see it's automatic recognition, which I had it over there, or you can actually select the languages. Now in terms of languages supporters, there's over 74 languages at least that I've taken time of making this video, which is great to see. Now you've got conversion units as well, so this is in terms of currency, very handy when you're traveling if you want to figure out a currency. Apparently these currencies are updated on a daily basis. You've got a whole host of different currencies, pretty much every single currency you can think of, and if you want to convert it, you can do, and it's very easy to see what the exchange rate is. Or you can also do other things as well rather than just the exchange. If I click over here at the top, you can see length, weight and temperature as well are listed over there. Then moving on from there, we've got role play, which is kind of like a fun way to play a game, if that makes sense. It's not something that I really use, but anyway, it's just something that you might want to do if you are bored. Then you've got medals as well, which give you somewhat of a achievement for things that you might have achieved in terms of translating and where you've actually translated, where you've been. So it's kind of like a nice heat map as to where you've been and what you've been translating. So that's pretty much the features. There's not much else to say about it. I will just say that what Pocketalk have done and the way they've made it is that it's very intuitive, very easy to understand for any sort of person, be it young or old, and furthermore the actual build quality and design is really perfect for traveling. Now with the features and somewhat explanation of what the Pocketalk is and how it looks like, let's talk about the performance. Now, to give you a bit of a background, I pretty much grew up in a French school for about 10 years, and I was living in England whilst my family was Armenian. So therefore, sometimes I get a couple of questions as to where my accent comes from. It's kind of a bit of a mix. Now, in this case, I am not quite trilingual because I can't quite read and write Armenian, but what I can do is read and write French, and furthermore can speak it to a certain degree. I think my old self will say that your French really sucks, whereas now I'm like, well, I don't practice French as much as I used to. Well, all I'm trying to say over here is that I do understand kind of how the syntax should work of a sentence, and I must say I was quite pleasantly surprised as to how this translates to French. Now, French is quite an easy language. It's quite a well-spoken, well-documented language. And here is where I wanted kind of to push the boat out. So there, when I put in Armenian, I was actually really surprised to how the translator was able to deal with a relatively unknown language, as in Armenian isn't as well spoken in the world. There's very few million of Armenians in the world in comparison to French or English, for example. And here is where I was really impressed. Then I tested a whole host of different languages. So I had friends who are native in terms of being Dutch, Polish, Bengali, all a host of different languages. And what I really loved over here is that despite all the different iterations of languages, the Pocketalk pretty much excelled in every single way. There were some times where it did struggle, even with native pronunciation, it did struggle to pick up certain words. I think this was namely a case when it came to Polish. Now, this is obviously pretty much the case with any sort of translator app or even a human being. They might get the slight pronunciation a little bit wrong and therefore might change the sentence. Now, I don't speak Chinese or Japanese where the pronunciations is even more important, but from my research I found that the Pocketalk seems to do well in a vast majority of those languages, and Chinese being one of them. What I'm trying to say over here is that the Pocketalk isn't quite flawless, it isn't perfect, but it does get the message across. And furthermore, translates, be it from hearing a certain thing to yourself, so someone who's native in, let's say, if you're in Japan, someone's talking Japanese to you, you can translate that and get pretty much a really good 95 to 98% gist, or even sometimes 100% gist of what they are saying. And this equally works the other way when you're speaking in a native language. The biggest issue I found with the Pocketalk is the fact that when you don't natively speak a language, I know this might seem a little bit odd, but when you don't natively speak a language, like myself, who doesn't natively speak Korean, sometimes my pronunciation isn't the best, and therefore it comes across as a different meaning. Now, I don't know if it's going to work in real time, but let's try it. I've got it from Korean to English UK. Dolyochagi.
Kick.
That was good. Upchuggy.
Front kick.
That's good. So the reason why I'm saying kick is because I do Taekwondo. I've done it for over 10 years, and you pick up some Korean. My Korean is pretty bad, and I know my Korean master will be pretty disappointed at my level of Korean after all these years. But my point is over here, there it picked it up. Whereas before when I tried it, it actually seemed to fail to pick up that pronunciation that I had. And that's because I'm not a native. And I'll put my hands up and say my pronunciation is probably pretty bad. But what I'm trying to say over here is that I know this might be a limited case, but if you're not a native in the language and your pronunciation is a little bit off, then, or even your grammar or vocabulary, then what you'll find is that the Pocketalk might struggle to translate accurately to the target language. So in this case, from Korean to English. Now, aside that somewhat small-ish use case, I will say that I really also love the camera function. Now, I did touch upon this a bit before, but it did remind me as to when I was in Japan with my fiance. And the reason I say this is because in Japan they've got like a vending machine where you can order ramen. It sounds a bit weird. It's not like that you order it and it comes up with ramen. You order it, it gives you a ticket, you hand it over to the chef, and the chef cooks off the ramen that you've basically ordered through this vending machine, and then you get the pot of ramen in front of you. And I must say, remember when I went in Japan, it was exquisitely cool. It's where somewhere locals go. As such, no one spoke a word of English. The people who were there were truly Japanese, and the chefs and waiters and waitresses just didn't understand a single word of English. To the point where I used my phone and I had data out there because I got a SIM card, and I used my Google Translate with the app, and therefore took pictures of this vending machine, and it translated bits and bobs of the app, of the vending machine. And therefore the app showed like chicken, egg, ramen, noodles, large noodles, that type of thing. It was basic, but got us the right result and ended up in really, really tasty ramen, some of the best I've ever had in my life. The point I'm trying to say here is that this camera function on the Pocketalk is fantastic. And from my tests that I've done, at least over here in the UK, I must say I'm really impressed with the results. And as such, if you're someone who's going to be traveling into a country where people don't speak a language, and you might want to translate it, but if there's that sort of scenario, or you're like at a subway, or you're trying to look and to figure out directions, the Pocketalk will be able to help you in that respect. So as a summary, what I'll say about the Pocketalk is that it's not perfect, but it's as close to perfection as a human translator can get. And I must say, I am absolutely mind blown as to the performance of this little thing. Not only in terms of its design, its functionalities, its pricing as well, which might seem quite a lot, but in the grand scheme of things is quite good, but also the fact that its core functionality works pretty much flawlessly. And as such, I can't think of a better device, and furthermore, just really love what Pocketalk have done over here. And I will also mention that even though I've been talking about translating, it is also a way of learning a language. And this is what I really like about it, because I could learn not only the spoken and the written way of writing a language, but then I can use that in practice and reverse it on itself and to see if it picks up my pronunciation. So for example, when I was talking about Korean, I could talk Korean to it and see if it picks it up. And if it doesn't, then I do it the other way around, hear it, and then repeat it. And that's a great way of learning a language, being actually kind of hands-on with it. And something I didn't really cover in this review because it's a translator, but it is also a means of learning a language, and I really do appreciate that. As such, if you're looking for this type of device, I would very much actively recommend it. It is really fantastic. It really does bring a joy to my face, and brought a lot of joy to people's faces when I tried testing it on these different languages and different friends I had. It was just really cool. Now, I should mention, I'm not sponsored, I'm not paid, I'm not endorsed or anything like this from Pocketalk or the affiliated company. They sent it for review, and this is an honest review. As with all content of review content that's on my channel, it's always the same case. So if you've enjoyed this review and you would like to see more honest content, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to see more, and favourite and share, as it always helps the channel grow. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care, and bye bye.